Hello and welcome to Carla Knits. This is a podcast about knitting, crocheting, and all of the yarny goodness that I love. You may have noticed by the thumbnail picture that it is a special episode today. This is my 5-year Podiversary episode. So I recorded and published my first YouTube video on February 6th, 2021, and here we are 5 years later. A big hello and welcome to all new and returning viewers. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate each and every one of you, whether you've been with me the whole time or you are just joining in. Thank you for being here. Things that I talk about will be linked in the show notes down below. We have a Ravelry group for Carla Knits, and just briefly, we have a Love Your Stash make-along going on for the entirety of 2026. So more details can be found there. So if you'd like to join in using your stash, check that out. I think I have a fun episode today. I have, in celebration of 5 years of podcasting, I decided to cast on 5 new projects. So I will be sharing those projects. I will be answering some questions that I received in the last episode and sharing lots of beautiful projects from the past. There are some giveaways, and there is also a yarn hoarder quiz that I will be asking all of you. So I think it should be fun. So we will go ahead and get started. I'm going to share my 5 new cast-ons. I thought, well, what should I do? What am I going to do to celebrate? And I thought, what better way than to cast on 5 new projects? And if you've been here a while, you may be saying, what is going on with Carla? Because I am usually a person who likes no more than like 3 to 5 works in progress. But I did the 12 cast-ons of Christmas, so I had those projects going, and some of those are completed, but certainly not all of them. And what do? I go on and cast 5 more projects. What is different about these projects is that they all have pink in them, and pink is my favorite color. I should share what I am wearing. This is the City Limits sweater by Tanis Lavallee. Don't remember when I knit it. I should have written it down, but I will link this in the show notes down below. It was knit with fingering yarn held double, using lots of different skeins of yarn. So that is the City Limits sweater. But let's get into the projects. So I cast these on all over the period of 4 to 5 days, I believe. Yeah, 4 to 5 days. So first, let's double check here. My table is full of yarn and some project bags and a big pile of knitted things over here. So, all right. Well, let me share this cute new project bag that I got. I love cats. We have one cat, Reese's, and I saw these project bags on Etsy, and she has many different cat fabrics, and so I picked a couple. This is the first one, and I had gotten an Etsy gift card from my parents for Christmas. So hi Mom, thank you, and hello if you're watching. So the first, I should say who the design or the bag maker is. It is Poppy Dove on Etsy. So that is the first bag, and the first project that I cast on is a sock. Big shocker there. Socks are probably my favorite to knit. So just a little baby cast on. Here is what the yarn looks like. This is an Opal yarn in the, well, I'm not German, Winterweide line. And I don't know if you can see this really well, but that is how it should knit up. So a fun self-patterning, self-striping yarn. And I am knitting these for my sister-in-law, Patty. I had knit her one pair of socks before, and she had asked for a neutral pair. So I got, you know, the most neutral pair of sock yarn that I could find, and it was a Patton's Croy. I think it was seashells, something like that. So pale creams and pale grays and tans, and she really liked them. And I told her when I was with her recently, I said, you know, I don't have any more neutrals, but I'd like to knit you a pair of socks. And she says, well, what about something with pink? So she loves pink just like I do. So I think that will be a fun pair of socks. Just plain vanilla, easy sock knitting. So that is the first pink cast on. The second is for my niece Piper, who is Patty's daughter. And it is in this bag again by Poppy Dove. And I just love that cat. Oh, that is so sweet. This reminds me of our first cat, Kelsey Cat. But I just love that cat with the flowers and then the strawberry print. It's just so fun. This is the yarn that I am using, and I'm slightly further along with this cast on. Unfortunately, it's not to the pink part yet, but it's the purple. This is my first time doing a 56 stitch sock. So my niece Piper, she's a young teenager, but she's very thin and very thin ankles. So I think I'm hoping the 56 stitch is the right stitch count for her. I hope. But this fantastic yarn is a Regia, which I have had in my stash for a while. Yeah, very long time. 5 years, maybe longer. I bought this at a yarn store in Omaha that no longer is in business. But this is Regia Fluormania color. And maybe you can see how it is supposed to knit up. But Piper also likes pinks. And so I thought this would be fun. Yeah, I love that. So I love those bright fluorescent pink colors, and the purple I really like too. Yeah, I could see doing a whole sock if it was just this purple color. I really like that. So I think this is going to be a really fun sock. Planning on these for gifts for either Christmas or maybe earlier this year. My brother-in-law Keith and Patty and Piper live in Canada, so we don't get together very often. Sometimes mailing things to Canada takes a while. We sent a Christmas card up there that took, I believe it was four and a half weeks. So I never quite know. But if we have the opportunity to get together, I may just gift them then. So those two socks. Then I have, let's see, oops, where did this project go? It's behind you actually. Oh, but I can share part of it. So the yarn is sitting behind you, but this is, I'm calling it Pink Crochet Bunting by Lucy of Attic 24. I think the pattern is called like Baby Blues Bunting. But I have 4 different colors of yarn. This is Stylecraft DK. This was a kit that I had gotten on Wool Warehouse. Yep, Wool Warehouse. And it is to make this crochet triangle bunting. So I just have one of the triangles done. I'm going to pause a minute so I can grab the yarns. So I'm excited to work on a crochet project. So I will do different combinations with these colors. So the colors are, I guess I was not as prepared as I thought. Here are the yarns. And let's see if I can match up the tags with the yarns. Fondant, I think, is, no, this is Clematis. This is Clematis. This is fondant. This is raspberry. Well, and this is magenta. I'm not sure. I may have those wrong, but they'll be listed anyways. So I will be using those 4 different shades of Stylecraft DK yarn to make these, I think, to 12 little crocheted triangles, and then string, and then you crochet the string which they hang on. It's attached to this string, and then there are pink buttons to go between each of the triangles. It would have been very fun if I had worked on this project sooner, so that it could have been hanging from my yarn shelf to celebrate 5 years. But this is a project that I've wanted to do since last year, so I thought it would be fun, and it definitely celebrates the color pinks with this project. All right, my 4th project is a hat, and it is in this bag by Freckled Whimsy from a long time ago. This was from a collaboration, Freckled Whimsy and Legacy Fiber Arts yarn. But I am knitting a hat, and I just have a little bit of the ribbing done on the hat. The pattern that I am using is Morse Beanie by Amy Kate Sutherland, and this yarn was wound horribly. It kind of got tangled on itself, but this is yarn that I dyed late last summer. So kind of a special project that I dyed. I used a kit from Walnut Farms Design on Etsy, and I used a jar to solar dye it in my kitchen window, and this was dyed with cochineal, which is a little bug which kind of creeps me out, but it yielded a gorgeous color. So very much a variegated yarn, just depending on where the cochineal was situated in the jar. So I have wanted to make something with this since this past fall, and I thought, well, this is perfect. So pink projects and the month of the month with Valentine's Day, it feels really fun to work on these pink projects. But that is the Morse Beanie. And then my 5th project is called the Puffy Heart Basket, also a crochet project by Simply Made by Erin. I had bought this pattern last year. I had bought the yarn for it last year. It uses Lion Brand Wool Ease, and this is the Thick and Quick. So it is a very, very bulky, super bulky yarn. And here is the progress I have so far. So this is the bottom of the bowl, and then I don't know how well you can see those puff stitches. I will include photos of this. So it comes with 3 different sizes. There is a large basket, which I am making. There is a smaller basket, and then there is a tray. So I just thought that would be really fun for Valentine's Day. So these are the 3 colors that I am using that were specified in the pattern. So this is Cranberry, this is Rouge, and this is Potion. So I think that is going to be really pretty together. I certainly could have gotten a little farther on this, but pretty big hook. It's an 8mm hook, and the yarn is very thick. So if you've worked with big, thick yarn, whether knitting or crocheting, it does tend to be hard on the hands. So I didn't want to push it. So I thought I'd take a break with that. So that is my 5th cast on. So those are my 5 new projects to add into all of my whips that I have going on right now. But I am really having fun with all of the projects. My craft or my yarn room here is kind of a mess, but I usually have either a bag with a couple projects upstairs, you know, a bigger bag with a couple of my project bags in it, or maybe just 1 or 2 project bags with me, so that I'll work on a couple different things throughout the day. And I do work, and so when I say throughout the day, I have a little bit on my lunch break, and then mostly in the evenings. And I do take my projects along with me to work, just in case, you know, a student doesn't come for their lesson, which happens. So yesterday I actually had some knitting time at work. So that was really fun. So those are the new projects that I cast on. I would like to go into questions now. And I thank you for the people that wrote in questions. Let's see. I am going to start with Elaine. Hi, Elaine, if you're watching. Her question, when did you start knitting and how did you learn? And does your mom knit? Okay, so I started knitting in 2013, I believe. I was a crocheter before that. I did teach myself. I take that back. Crocheting, I learned how to do the chain stitch when I was very little. And I know I shared this, I think, on my very first podcast. My great aunt Sylvia gave me this beautiful skein of yarn, which I thought was beautiful. And it was very 70s in a green and brown and white, variegated. And I just chained and chained and chained and chained and just had this, you know, ginormous chain. And she took a brown velvet pillow, and then she started in the center and she tacked down and made a circle motif on the brown velvet pillow with my crocheted chain. I wish I still had that. I don't know what happened to that, but that was definitely my first love of crochet there. After that, I don't think I picked it up again until high school. And I did crochet on and off high school, college. When we were first married, I did some crochet, and I was doing fabric baskets. If any of you remember crocheting with fabric baskets with a big Q hook, I remember doing that, and I remember getting so frustrated and whipping this giant hook across the living room and it clattering on the kitchen floor. My husband Jeff absolutely remembers that. But I did not get serious with crochet until after my daughter Jenna was born. And she was going to be in a Christmas parade for dance. And they all had matching red sweatshirts. And then we were told to get black hats. So they didn't have to be matching hats. And I thought, ooh, I want hers to be unique. So I crocheted, I crocheted one of these ponytail hats. I call it a ponytail hat. I don't know if that's right, but it was a black hat with, black fur trim. And then it had these curly cues coming out the back of it. And of course I thought it was cute. I think she thought it was cute at the time. Now she would be horrified. But that kind of really got me back into it. And so I got help from a very good friend of mine who I've talked on the show about, Lois. So she helped me with crocheting. And in fact, she and I had a booth together at our local craft show where we sold some of our crocheted goods. But then a yarn store came into the town where I live, and it was owned by my friend Joanne. Hi, Joanne, if you're watching. And it opened in 2013. And my friend Lois had picked up knitting, and she said, oh, you should give it a try. I think you'd like it. And, I was under the idea, and some of you probably have heard this, you're either a knitter or a crocheter, you're not both. And so I thought, I crochet, and I can crochet some pretty complicated things. So yeah, I don't think I'll be a knitter. And she said, you really should try. So I did pick up knitting. I tried working from a kid's book that I found at our local library to teach myself how to knit. It was very frustrating to me. I could get the knit stitch. I did not understand how to do the purl stitch at the time. I remember sitting on my bed working on this. I had to be quiet. I had to be by myself, just trying to do this. I remember getting frustrated, but I was patient, and Lois was patient with me, and she helped me. And so I think I worked on some dishcloths. Those were probably my first projects. And then there was a group who met at the yarn store. And so 2013, 2014. And Joanne was going to hold a knit along with Knit Purl Hunter's book building blocks, and so to create an Afghan. And so this probably goes into one of my projects that I'm proud of too, but it was a sampler Afghan. I'm just reaching over, a sampler Afghan. And so I really, and I've shared this a couple times on the podcast, I really attribute learning different knitting stitches and techniques to this blanket. So it is well loved and well worn, but it was a very fun sampler blanket. And so I think 2013, 2014, really, Elaine, was when I learned really how to knit. And this is definitely one of the projects that I'm proud of, and that goes into some other people's questions. So learned from a children's book, learned from my friends, learned from the Knit Purl Hunter book. And then she asked, does my mom knit? My mom does not knit. I did sit down on our front porch with her when she visited. She lives in Michigan and I live in Nebraska, so that's not really conducive to, one-on-one helping her learn. But we did try one summer when she was here, and she was able to do it. It's just, I don't think one of the things that she really enjoyed, and that's okay. My mom is someone who enjoys walking and being outside. She's a very avid walker. She loves to play piano. So those are her hobbies, and knitting is mine, and that's okay. But I would love to someday pass along my love of knitting to someone in my family. I'm kind of holding out hope for Jenna that maybe someday she'll come back around to it. I know she knows how to crochet. She does know how to knit too, but we'll see. All right, so that was a very crazy way to go about, but that's how I learned to knit. So then we'll talk about some things that I'm proud of. So Amy asked, what project are you most proud of or were most surprised by? And is there any pattern you would like to cast on but are too scared or intimidated by to try? And Ashley also asks, I'm curious about which project you are the most proud of and what is your dream project to make if time, money, skills, etc. weren't a roadblock. So projects that I'm most proud of. So certainly the building blocks blanket. Most recently, I would say, if you were here last year, you might remember this. This was a blanket. I just want to get, this is hard to show up, but I will insert some pictures. This was a blanket that my husband's grandma, Marie, had started. It's from a leisure arts pattern book. This was, I think, published in the 80s. And she had started it and then stopped. And I got her knitting supplies from her when she thought, I'm going to give these to you because I know how much you love to knit, which was very sweet. And, she was somebody that I could talk to about my knitting. It was when I was a pretty new knitter. But because she had that love, it was really special that we had that love of yarn and knitting in common. But she had started this Afghan, and put it away. And for years, I told myself, you're going to pick it out and you're going to look through the book. You're going to figure out how to finish this. So last year was finally the year. Is that right? Was it last year or was it 2 years ago? I'm getting mixed up on my time frame. I think it was last year. And so I was able to complete. She had about 2/3 of the blanket done, I think, or at least half, I know. But after after much studying of the pattern and reading the stitches, I was able to figure out where in the pattern she was. It was not the easiest because you were following different instructions for the different sections, and they did not all have the same repeats. Some were a 4-row repeat, some were 8, so it was multiples of 4. But it still was challenging. So I had it written out on pieces of paper, so that was easier for me. But it was completed, and I was able to gift it to my husband, Jeff. So this is his grandma, last Christmas. And I put on the tag, you know, to Jeff from Carla and Grandma Marie. And so he was very surprised and very curious. But when I told him what, you know, that it was a blanket made with both of our hands, yeah, that was really special for him. So I am very proud of this blanket. I am. And then I guess I would say one other project that came to mind is my Soldotna, which I should pull out and wear. I knit this during 2020. Yes, it was something that I had always wanted to do. You remember it was wildly popular. Everybody who was knitting, or it seems like everybody was knitting the Soldotna by Caitlin Hunter. And I had not done, I don't think I had done any color work, or if I had, it was very little. But I just admired the sweater and just the color work so much. And so Christy Glass has a sweater, this Soldotna sweater, that looks very similar. So I just loved the way hers looked. So I found colors I thought that were similar enough to hers. And so I figured out, and I'm sure, well, I know it's not perfect, but I am proud of this, that I was able to do the color work and do the sweater. The colors, you know, especially that bright pink, brought me such joy and happiness in what was a dark period for a lot of us during 2020. So I would say I am very proud of that project too. So those were the ones that came to mind. As far as dream projects or any patterns I would like to cast on, I came up with crochet ones and a couple knit ones. I'll just say I have never knit a Stephen West pattern. I do own the Vertices Unite. I think what has held me back from that one, I know I did start, was just the pairing of colors together. That was intimidating to me. So I have never made that project. I have admired the Exploration Station by him. I saw it in a yarn store, and I know it had brioche, and at the time I was like, oh, that sounds scary. But since, you know, I have done brioche, so that is definitely a pattern that I would like to try, his Exploration Station, and probably the Vertices Unite too. I can't say that I would do one of his mystery shawl alongs. I guess there is a little bit of an intimidation factor because there are some very unusual stitches and everything. And I do think it would be fun to learn. But, you know, using like 4 to 6 to 7 fingering weight skeins in a shawl, I'm just not sure about that. And I know it would take me a long time. I am not a fast knitter by any means. And so I know it would be a long time in completing a project, and I'm just not sure I would enjoy that. So that's my thoughts on that. But his Exploration Station and Vertices Unite, those are two that I would like to make. I would love to make an all over cable sweater someday. I don't have a pattern in mind, but you know, in a cream color. I just think, you know, with cables all over it. I don't have any cables, I don't think, in a sweater. So a cable sweater would be very fun, I think. I say it would be fun. It would be challenging, but it would be fun. I would love to do that someday. And for crochet projects, Amy of Noble Character Crafts has made, I believe, at least 2 crochet Afghans by Helen Shrimpton. And I'll put a couple of Helen's patterns pictures here. And I just admire those blankets so much. They are crochet works of art. I just think that would be amazing to knit those, or to crochet those. Also, the Nature's Walk blanket by Sandra Paul. This is something I would like to do someday. And then this is a pattern that I've had since my earlier foray into crochet. And I think I still have this Leisure Arts publication. It is the Scripture Crochet Afghan. So it's 24 blocks that feature a different stitch pattern related to scripture. And so I think that would be amazing. I assume that it uses worsted weight. And I was like, you know what? I have thought about this pattern a few times. I don't want to go out and buy a bunch of worsted weight yarn because it's going to take up tons of space in an already crowded yarn room. But I wondered about doing a scrappier looking crochet scripture blanket, you know, using my fingering weight yarns held double. The problem is I don't have a lot of tonals. I have a lot of speckles and, yeah, brighter, crazier yarns. So I think the stitch pattern would probably get lost in some of those yarns, but it definitely would be a nice way to use up some of my yarns in a special blanket. So stay tuned. We'll see if that ever if that happens. Yeah. So those are my dream projects. I guess I just wish I had all of the free time in the world, and yeah, all of the free time in the world to just play with my yarn. And is that what you guys dream of too? I do look forward to retirement someday. I'm a little too young right now to do that. But I do look forward just to being able to knit and crochet more. And I do it in my spare time. Every free moment I get, I do it. I used to be a very avid reader, but I really don't read. If I have the choice of reading or spending time crocheting or knitting, that's what I'm going to do. So I guess I just wish I had endless time to spend knitting and crocheting. So thank you, Amy and Ashley, for those questions. This is a fun one. This is from Nancy. Congratulations on your Podiversary. She says, for fun, I went back to the beginning and watched a few. Does Jeff still wear the Christmas clown socks? And so the answer is yes, he does. And so these are Jeff's Christmas clown socks. So when I started knitting, I admired people who were able to knit socks, and I thought, I'm never going to be able to do this. But I really wanted to try. And so I did, and I knit one sock, and I did it on DPNs, which was kind of fiddly at first, and that's okay. This is with Red Heart and Soul, maybe, from a long time ago. So this is definitely from like 2014, I think, that time, or 15 maybe. But I did knit one sock, and it turned out huge. In comparison, here is a sock now that I knit for Jeff. This was his Christmas sock this past year. And you can see there is quite a big difference. And I put that sock away, and I thought, I am not going to knit the other one. There is no way. you know, I'm never going to be a sock knitter. But then Jeff actually encouraged me. He's like, you really should at least complete the pair. I said, well, no one's going to wear them. They're for a giant. But he says, you really should. And so the second one I knit, and it is maybe slightly a little smaller. But I was very happy to have completed a pair of socks. And he said, I will wear them. So when he wears regular white crew socks in the wintertime, he will put these over those socks if his feet are very, very cold, or if he's going out to do, you know, snow shoveling or snow blower or whatever, he uses these. And he says, you know, I always refer to them as the Christmas clown socks because they're so crazy, you know, clown size feet. I think of like bozo size feet, but you know, and it is a Christmas yarn, but he really truly loves them. So Nancy, yes, he still does wear them. So I see these every single winter. He will pull these out. So that just, yeah, that warms my heart that he appreciates those first socks. And I am so glad that he encouraged me to finish that sock because that's what really, I think, made me really fall in love with sock knitting. And then I just wanted to keep knitting socks to get better and better at finding the right fit and, you know, making it to actually fit normally as opposed to such a big sock. And I will say socks are my favorite thing. I would say one of my very favorite things to knit right now. And I have knit many, many socks. And so I thank Jeff so much for that. And Joanne and Lois, I know you were very encouraging and helpful when I was knitting on this pair of socks. Joanne, I remember you helping me with the DPNs, the double pointed needles. So thank you, ladies, too. Another question, how much time do you spend podcasting, editing? How did you get started? How was the learning curve? Well, I would say how did I get started, or like even why did I want to do this? I am just really crazy about yarn. And yeah, I love yarn. I love everything related to yarn. Knitting, crocheting, yarn, different weights of yarn, colors, fibers. You know, I have forayed a little bit into drop spindle, and yeah, I haven't really made much progress with that, but I would love to learn how to spin and do that part of the process too. But I absolutely love yarn, and I just don't think I could get enough of it. You know, I do. And from 2013 on, I have a weekly knit group where I meet with Lois and Joanne and some other ladies too. And you know, it's so nice having those ladies in person that I could talk to about yarn. But I love it. And I just wanted to share my love of it. And I saw other people podcasting and I thought, well, I guess I could give it a try. And so I kind of hemmed and hawed about it during 2020. And then I shared with Jeff and then my daughter, Jenna, you know, this is something I think I would like to do. And they were very encouraging to me. And so I set up my table in our basement. If you remember, I had a Hoosier cabinet behind me. It was a very, yeah, it was a nice little setup. And that's where I started. How was the learning curve? It was okay. My daughter Jenna was very, very helpful. She was much more technologically literate than I was. And so she was really able to help me with all of the editing at the time. So I relied on her pretty heavily for quite a while to help me with some of the editing. But you know, the more I watched her and then I took notes and then tried to do some things myself, the more I learned. So now it is not very hard. I don't do anything fancy. I don't have any music or fun big graphics on my podcast. just because that all takes time, and maybe that should be time that I do spend trying to learn how to make my videos even more fancy and fun. But the most important thing to me is that I share my projects, I share my love of knitting with you guys, I can interact with you all. And so, and I have to be able to do that and do my job and do what I need to do as a wife and a mother. So I do easy editing. So how long does it take me to record a podcast? This one is going to be longer. So, but I typically will start in the morning. I will have written some show notes in my book here. So I write my show notes. That takes, I would say 20 minutes, 15 to 20 minutes at most. If I am sharing pictures of people's projects, for example, in the Love Your Stash mail, the last couple episodes I've shared pictures, I will go through and, find those pictures on Ravelry and, gather those. So that takes some time. But for actual recording of the podcast, probably an hour at the most, with some, some stops and starts. Sometimes it takes me, 5 times to record just the first little intro to the podcast. Other times I just go, but I don't do a lot of editing, but I do know how to get by. So I record the podcast, and then I will usually sit down to edit it. And depending on how long it is, it will take longer, but usually I will try to edit it during the same day that I podcast. And I'm doing this on a Tuesday, and it will come out Friday this time. So I will spend a couple hours editing, watching the podcast, inserting photos as needed, correcting any crazy things I said by adding in text. So it does. And then, of course, you have to have time for it to upload to YouTube, which isn't too bad anymore. I remember my earlier days, sometimes it would take hours or even overnight, but maybe we just have better internet service now. So it's not too bad. So I usually can get it done, the video edited and up on YouTube within that same day. And if I have time, I will also do show notes to put in the description box down below, sometimes that day or the next day, depending on when I want to put it up. So a good chunk of a day to do the podcasting and editing, I would say. So I hope that answers your question, Katerina. Thank you for asking that. And then final question is from Sherry. Excuse me, I am getting warm. What have been some of your favorite knits? I'm a shawl maker, so I'd be most interested in your favorite shawl that you've knit. So I decided to pull out a bunch of shawls. So I have this stack of shawls here, which is just some of my shawls, but I will, and they're in no particular order, not any particular order, but I will just go ahead and share these with you. So I think favorites, just because I enjoyed knitting on them. It was just a fun process, or the colors used, or the stitches. This first one is an Advent shawl. This was, I don't think I wrote this one down. I think this is it the Dust of Snow Wrap? I think it is by Helen Stewart. This is the one I forgot to write down. It used an advent calendar. This was by Yarnberry, and it was a Christmas song theme. So each of the different minis was representative of a different Christmas hymn or carol, which I loved as a musician. I absolutely loved that idea. And you held this with a strand of mohair. I don't think I have ever worn this. This would be really warm. It would be a good scarf just for going out in really cold weather, but I did enjoy knitting on that. I'll just keep going here. I think I love this shawl mostly because of the color. And these were kind of wrinkled in my closet. This is the grapefruit shawl, which I call my pink shawl by Gabrielle Imbolt. I don't think I'm saying that right. And it used, let's see, yarn from Fiber Me This and pineapple yarn. And so it was fingering weight, you know, merino, and then a mohair. I don't know if this was the first time I did a shawl where I knit, you know, sections of it with just mohair. But I absolutely love these colors. This is a Carla color for sure. Yep, I absolutely love the pink. Let's see. This one is definitely one that I am proud of because of the beautiful border on this shawl. This is the Cinder Rose shawl by Kalura Hudson. And what really drew me to this shawl was that beautiful border. And it is an applied border. So you just start at one end and you just keep picking up stitches and then adding on. And so it was a time-consuming border, but I think it is absolutely beautiful. The bobble texture in there is just so lovely. Gosh, I can't remember what yarn. I know I got this from my friend Joanne. But yeah, I love that shawl too. This is another Advent shawl, kind of crazy colors, but when I wear this, I wear it with I've worn it with like a blue dress, so something plain, a plain blue dress. This was an Advent shawl, and it is called Advent Shawl by Maria G. Knits, and this used a teeny button Advent from 2021, and it just has all of these different stitch patterns in it. And then it was another applied border on the end, but there are bobbles and lace in here, and it was just a really fun knit. Yeah, it was just a lot of fun. The colors, yeah, they're not super great together. I mean, you have, you know, the brights and then this more moody thing here. So would I have picked these colors to go together? Probably not, but it was super fun to knit, and I do like how it looks with my blue dress, and I really like how long the ends are and how they curl. I just think that is fun, and that's kind of a feminine detail, so I really do enjoy that. Let's see. I have this shawl, Cozy Up Knits, the Cozy Up Knitting sisters who have a podcast. They used to hold a mystery knit along in January, and this was one of them. This is, let's see, this was called My Sister's Favorite Things. This was from 2021. And, you know, just following along the different things. And if you look at the mohair, the stitching in the mohair, I hope you can see that, you know, it was no small feat to work on this shawl and do lace knitting with mohair and black mohair. So I know at the time it was, let's see, it's DK weight and mohair, and I just wanted to use yarn from Stash, so I had a Miss Babs Yowza with that cream and blacks and pinks, and I paired it with a black mohair that I held, and so it was really fun to work on this. It was hard knitting with mohair, but I was really proud of how it turned out in the end. Another Cozy Up Knit mystery. This was Mini Me 2023. This was made with a mini skein set from Dye Lot Studio and a main color by Fiber MacGyver. very much Carla colors. I absolutely love it. But just I really enjoy a shawl that has different textures, different stitch patterns to it. I think that is very fun, and I think it's just engaging to knit. I think that is great. So there are times, you know, when I really just love stockinette knitting, just plain stockinette knitting, but other times when you can do something like this. So kind of the sampler idea with different stitch patterns, that is so fun. I've got two more. Let's see. This shawl holds a very special place in my heart. This is called Carla's Garden Shawl, which, yes, it was named for me and it is so special. This was designed by Darcy of Chit Chat Knits. It used 3 skeins of fingering weight yarn. The detail I love in there is the flower stitch, which you can see in kind of that coppery, rosy brown color. So I love the textures in here, but you know, this flower stitch, this takes time to do all those flower stitches. So this was definitely a labor of love. I used yarn that got on a D-stash. It was a kit that went together. The colors were kind of nautical themed. One was coastline, seashells, and starfish. And so I love the water. So the colors just spoke to me, but mostly just because Darcy was so thoughtful in designing the shawl for me. Darcy, if you're watching, that just meant the world to me. So this is definitely one of my most special and favorite shawls that I have. Finally, I will share this shawl because I was very proud of being able to knit it. Let me figure out what it is. Oh, the Feel Good Shawl by Andrea Mowry. This is an all-over brioche shawl. You know, I've dabbled with brioche. I feel like I'll do a project and then step away from it for several years, and then I'll do a project and not do anything for a couple more years. So this was an all-over brioche shawl. I just paired 5 yarns from Stash, and then I picked a 6th one for the border because I ran out of what was supposed to be the border color. But I love how this turned out. I'll show the other side too. I was, you know, excited that I was able to do the all over brioche. I had to tink back and unknit brioche about 4 to 6 rows, I believe, which was very hard and caused tears, of course, but I was able to do it. And so I was proud of that fact. So those are some of my favorite shawls. All right. All right, I think these are all the things I wanted to talk about. Now for a giveaway. So the first, Darcy of Chit Chat Knits so graciously offered a pattern of choice to one person for this video. Words are failing me. So how you can enter any comments down below. So this is open to all people. Doesn't matter what country you're from. That's what I'm trying to say. US and internationally. So the winner will receive a pattern of their choice from Chit Chat Knits. And Darcy has amazing projects. I know I shared the Carla's Garden Shawl. She has wonderful hat patterns, cowl patterns, shawls, you name it. She's got it. I have knit several of her hats. Thoroughly enjoy her patterns. So thank you, Darcy, for offering that up for one of our viewers. So just comment down below. I don't have a particular prompt. I guess you could tell me where you are watching from and how long you've been watching. I would enjoy hearing that. So if you want to enter for any of the giveaways, you know, tell me where you're watching from and how long you've been watching. And it doesn't matter if you've been watching for the first episode or if you've been watching all the episodes. I would just love to hear where you're from. The second, I would like to gift a skein of yarn. This will be for U.S. residents only. This is from Mustache Yarn. This has been in my stash for a while and want to share it with you. It is a self-striping sock yarn. It says, perfect self-striping sock, 2 identical skeins twisted together, and the color is Firework. And it just seems like a good celebration color. So this will be available to U.S. residents only just because of shipping, and I know people in other countries have to pay fees sometimes on things that come in, so it just makes the most sense for U.S. residents. So again, just to be entered down below, tell me where you're from and how long you've been watching. And then finally, I will gift someone a pattern of their choice on Ravelry up to US $10. So you have to be able to use Ravelry. So up to US $10. It can be one pattern, it could be a combination up to $10. So three things that you are entering for. Tell me where you're watching from, and tell me how long you've been watching. And anything else you would like to share with me, I would love to hear that. So I think that brings us to the end of this episode. I know it got a little chatty here, but I am so thankful to each and every one of you. The very, very best thing that has come out of podcasting is I say meeting you guys. You know, I feel like I have friends, you know, when I see people comment week after week, or we've done knit-alongs together and we've interacted through those comments, or we've interacted on Instagram. I used to hold some Zooms, and so I got to know some of you that way. The friendships that I have made have just been the biggest blessing. And knowing that you guys are out there and that you share this same passion and love of yarn and knitting and crocheting that I do, it just means the world to me. So thank you, each and every one of you, for being here. It means the world to me. And I will see you again really soon. Take care. Bye-bye. Hopping back on, I forgot to do something on the podcast. I wanted to do this yarn hoarder test, so I thought this would be fun. So I wanted to make sure I included this. So if you want to grab a pencil to mark for yourself, this is just supposed to be fun, tongue-in-cheek, very fun. I found this yarn hoarder test on Ribbler.com. So I think I saw it this fall, and I have seen it floating around Instagram a little bit too. But you just give yourself a point for each of these things if you have done any of these things. So I've got my book here too. I'm just going to mark a tick mark by each one. So yarn hoarder test. Add 1 point if you have yarn stashed anywhere in your home. 3+ yarn storage spots in your home. Ever spent more money on yarn than food? How are we doing so far? Yarn in more than 3 weights. So fingering, worsted, bulky, lace. Yeah. Secret yarn hidden from a spouse or roommate. Crochet thread you've never used. Yarn you've forgotten about, probably. More than 3 active works in progress. Received yarn for your birthday or Christmas. At least 6 different colors of yarn. I bet you guys know how I am doing. Scrap yarn saved up for later. Yep. 2 or more distinct scrap yarn stashes. Unopened yarn from more than 3 years ago. Mystery yarn with no skein, jacket, or label. Over 5 storage tubs, over 5 storage tubs stuffed full of yarn. I like this next one. An organization system only you understand. Jeff would say, yeah, I don't understand what you're doing, Carla. Spent more time with yarn than family and friends. I will only say that probably yes to that one, because our, well, I do spend time with Jeff and our kids, but our other family lives far and wide. So repurposed yarn, like from a thrift store sweater. Expensive yarn you bought but never used. Told someone the yarn just hopped into your cart. All right. It says, if you have over 10 points, you might have a yarn addiction. There were 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. There were 20 questions, or 20 items. So if you have over 10 points, you might have a yarn addiction. Does anybody want to guess how many I have? I have 17 of those. So take that for what it's worth. I'm a yarn hoarder, proud of it. I know I am one. It's just for fun. So thanks for playing along. Hope you just enjoyed this fun little quiz. Take care.